snow-covered hills, will the landslide bring you down? And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, will the landslide bring you down? Oh, the landslide bring you down? Will the landslide bring you down? Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, there used to be a pulpit here, and I moved it. Maybe it was there for a reason. There we go. Let's pick up my paper. Good morning, everyone. I'm Israel Bufardi. I use he, him for pronouns. I am the interim minister of this congregation. You can call me Israel or Reverend Israel or hey, you, really up to you. But no matter what you call me, it's my pleasure to be here with you, all of you here this morning. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here to this place, this spiritual community, this open-minded and open-hearted spiritual community for curious and compassionate seekers. We are the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax, which is a mouthful. We are a Unitarian Universalist denomination. We are a church, a spiritual community that welcomes all many different ways of understanding truth in this world. We come together here based on the idea of covenant, that we need each other to survive, and that it matters how we treat each other, that we're all deeply interconnected in profound ways that we cannot see. We believe that it matters, therefore, how we treat each other and how we strive to make our world a better place. We're less concerned here with what you believe and how you wish to be in community with one another, and how you wish to show each other the never unfolding truths and beauty and justice that the world calls us to create. So you are welcome here, all of you, whether this is your first time or 500th time into this space. No matter where you are from, no matter who you love, no matter how you express and understand gender in your body, we understand here that love and sexuality and sex and gender are things to be experienced on a spectrum, not a binary. And we understand that truth is not a binary either. That there have been many traditions in the world that have sought to understand the divine or to understand their experiences of something greater than themselves. And so we try to integrate that wisdom here and make some sense of it together. So, that's Unitarian Universalism in a nutshell. And if you had me on a different day, you might have heard a different nutshell. And I hope you will. So, before we enter, so if you're new here, we welcome you to join us after the service for some conversation and for some coffee and community.
And soup.
And soup. We have soup today. Okay. My pleasure to welcome you. Before we enter into our time of worship, we must take some time to acknowledge the sacred truths of this land on which we gather. And Brian, where'd you go? Oh, right there.
This is a season of Thanksgiving. What if every season we gave thanks? For many in the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois Confederacy, gratitude is a daily practice. This is something that Debbie Eisen of the Mi'kmaq Friendship Center said is widespread practice in Mi'kmaq culture as well, when she co-led a series of here in our church a few years ago. In Braiding Sweetgrass, a poetic and profound book, Robin Wall Kimmerer describes the practice of saying the Thanksgiving address every day in a school in the Onondaga First Nation. She says it is a river of words as old as the people themselves, known more accurately as the words that come before all else. This ancient order of protocol sets gratitude as the highest priority. The gratitude is directed straight to the ones who share their gifts with the world. One version of the Thanksgiving address, which she has written in her book, begins this way. Today we have gathered, and when we look upon the faces around us, we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now, let us bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. We are thankful to our mother, the earth, for she gives us everything that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk upon her. It gives us joy that she still continues to care for us, just as she has from the beginning of time. To our mother, we send thanksgiving, love, and respect. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst, for providing strength and nurturing life for all things. We know its power in many forms, waterfalls and rains, mists and streams.
No, thank you.
Closer to me?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry. You missed all that? Okay. Okay. We are, now that I'm almost done, we've got the sound right. We are grateful that the waters are still here and meeting their responsibility to the rest of creation. Can we agree that water is important to our lives and bring our minds together as one to send greetings and thanks to the water? Now our minds are one. Thank you.
An apt reading for us as we prepare to light our chalice and enter into the sacred space of our service this morning. In Unitarian Universalism, we light a chalice, a flaming chalice, which is using the element of fire to remind us of the fire of commitment to a more beautiful and just and loving world that unites us. But we also, I have placed in our sanctuary the 4 different elements. And this reading is apt for me this morning because it reminds us that our elemental connection to this planet reminds us of just how deeply interconnected we are with each other, how we all come from the same source. We all express ourselves in different ways using the different elements of life, and that we almost flow back into it eventually. And that we cannot, no matter how much our culture tells us or makes us want to, deny our elemental sameness. But for this day, we light a chalice, this flaming cup, and let this fire be our reminder of that elemental sameness, and our reminder to live our lives with that lesson held deeply. And so on this morning, we gather, we turn our attention to the things that matter in this life. That is why we call this time worship, because we seek to understand and notice the worthship or the worthiness of things that are worthy of our attention. Our theme for the month of November is change. And there are many different ways that we will approach change for the rest of this month. One is to ask ourselves, are we becoming what we must become? In our lives, in our community, and in our world. Another question we can ask ourselves, which I will ask us today to think about, is what does it mean to take the leap into the unknown? What is that absolutely beautiful and sacred moment right before change happens? That sacred moment of deep not knowing, of surrendering yourself to what you do not know and what you cannot control. But knowing that your conscience and your values give you no choice but to make the leap. Today we turn our attention to the sacredness, the sacred moment of the leap. Accepting the words of Octavia Butler when she said, "All you touch, you change. All you change changes you, and in fact, the only lasting truth is change." May we discover that today, and may we now rise in body or in spirit to greet this new day, this gift that is given to us today, and to sing. We sing as another way to embody the concepts that we explore here together. So I invite you, if you wish, to rise in body or in spirit and to sing its number 1000 in the teal-colored hymnal that you have there. It's Morning Has Come.
Morning has come,
Arise and greet the day.
dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open our contemplate among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Are those the words, right?
Who knows? Open hearts to welcome it.
Open our
among
hearts
us.
to welcome it among us. That's what we are doing here. Opening our mind's eyes to see that life and life's lessons abound all around us. And the purpose, I think, of spiritual practice, of spiritual community, is to cultivate something in our hearts that allows us to open them up. Maybe it's safety, maybe it's simply the practice of using that muscle to let it open up to what life has to offer us. Maybe it's courage. I'm not sure. If you think of it, let me know. Which reminds me, you are welcome to make yourself comfortable in the service today, to speak back or to stand up or to sing off key, to clap off key, to move, to dance, to laugh and to cry. or to sit on the floor, or go to the bathroom if you need to. And if you're on Zoom, hi too. We can, if you type in the chat during the next part of the service, we can read your comments aloud. I invite you to take some deep breaths now. To allow your heart to be open to whatever it is that life is giving you today. To allow your heart to be open to whatever it is that life is offering you today. That might be something that makes your heart feel joyful and light and makes it beat faster with anticipation and gladness. It could be something that makes it skip a beat in anticipation or anxiety. That could be something that makes it feel heavy or broken. On any given day, when we gather in community, we carry all of these things with us, sometimes at the same time. Joy and sorrow, gladness, anticipation or anxiety. Sometimes we carry complex truths that don't fit neatly into one of those categories too. And the purpose of community is to find a space to bring your whole self. And so we use this element of water here, which we call our well of community, to represent the spaces where our rivers gather, our streams gather, to remind us again that we are all connected, and that a sorrow that one of us carries, an injustice that one of us experiences, affects the rest of us. And two, that a joy that we carry multiplies. The invitation is, if you carry something on your heart that needs to be expressed in community just because you need to say it out loud, or you want help, you want us to know, or you just need to say it, to come up and take a stone and to put it into the well. It can be a joy, a sorrow, or a complex truth. Or it could be silent too. You don't have to say anything if there's something that you want to mark. And to speak it into the microphone out loud. If you're on Zoom, you can type into the chat and we'll read it aloud and put a stone in for you. And when you come up, just notice that when you drop a stone in the well, it ripples out. And it is held by the water, just as I hope that we can all feel held in this community. So if you have something you'd like to share, you're invited to do so, and speak into the mic in 15 words or less.
So since Canadian newscasts seem to be more interested in U.S. politics than I would have hoped, I'm sure you're all aware that Tuesday is a midterm election in the United States. Whatever mojo you have to send south in hopes of sanity prevailing that day in our homeland.
This is a sadness I suppose probably some of you know about. Angela Vandenberg's dad died on the 30th of October. He'd been in hospital in Yarmouth for about 6 weeks. So I express on our behalf sympathy to Angela and her 3 children.
I'm keeping my daughter in my heart this week as she's had finally succumbed to COVID. She was so careful. She was careful than most people I know. She's better now, but she's been in my heart all week.
think the last time I was here in person, I came up expressing concern about my son's hunt for an apartment. He has found one that is somewhat affordable. His stuff is in my basement for the month while he awaits the opening day that he could move in, but I am grateful he found a place.
So mine is a complexity. My daughter Sanyata left on Friday for South Africa for 6 months to do humanitarian work, and I'm so proud of her for doing that, but also it's a sorrow for me as well. And I hope everyone can send their good cheer and best wishes to her Sanyata choice. Thank you. We just don't do 15 words, Israel. No.
Can you read it for me, because my phone is not charged.
Christine Rickard says, I'm grieving the loss of work, mobility, and other abilities due to 2 strokes. We plunged into, at times, an unbearable uncertainty and also deeper unwelcome complexions. Please share.
Jason? Wait. Good God. What?
Oh, those are little, tasty little morsels of taste, aren't they?
She's a pretty one book there.
I'm going to put one more stone in the well for all of the joys, sorrows, and complex truths that we all carry every day.
What?
Why the volume so low?
For the truth of being human and alive. And for the introverts amongst us who may not feel comfortable getting up to. Continue breathing, and if you want to at any point during this meditation or the song that comes afterwards, you're still welcome to come up to the well. So I invite you to take another breath, or to allow yourself to settle into your chair or your couch at home or bed or wherever it is that you are sitting. And to join me in the spirit of curiosity, discovery, noticing, what some call mindfulness or meditation, and others know as prayer, and some know simply as being open to life on this day. Take some breaths and remember that you are alive today, even if only for one more day. That life is funny. That each day is a gift. And that with each breath, even though you might not notice it, with each breath, your body is carrying you forward. Your body is reminding you that it yearns for more life and more opportunities for you to become what you must become. There's a theory that says that in each moment when a decision or a creation is made, it opens up infinite different possibilities. And that in some other dimension, those actually happen. And so each moment of creation, our creativity, is an opening up of infinite possibilities. And that moment in between the breaths is that moment of anticipation of opening yourself up to infinite creation. But you could also see that moment in between the breaths as if you were swinging high on a trapeze bar somewhere, going back and forth. And on the upswing, as you're exhaling and preparing for the next breath, you have the opportunity to let go of the trapeze bar and allow your momentum to carry you on to the next one. But to do so, you have to let go. You have to pause for a moment and let go. And soar through the void. So the simple prayer for us this morning is that hurtling through that void, may we learn how to fly. Knowing that we are all creatures on this earth forever turning, may we feel the momentum of that movement together. I invite you to sing number 163 in the gray hymnal, or just to listen if you wish. You can stand or remain seated, it's up to you.
All the stars forever sing.
seasons harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blooming hills of earth. Don't worry if you got a little lost in the parallel universe theory thing there a few minutes ago. It's pretty fascinating stuff. I don't know what to do with this microphone.
It is this way,
Okay, cool. I just want it closer to me. Is that okay for now?
I guess.
Okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna put it over here.
As long as it tilts the
Okay.
other way to you. Do you want to tilt it now to you? No, the other way. No, yeah, that
You
one.
have to see the logo on it.
Yeah, you have to see.
There it is. Okay. Okay. All right. This infinity in each moment thing is what I hope you maybe what's stuck a little bit. But also this this moment of this, what I said was a truly sacred moment of before the leap. The courage to take the leap and the courage to soar into the unknown, even though it is really scary. That's what it means to be alive. To do that in every moment that you are awake, to live a full, authentic life. However, sometimes that moment before the jump or the release is also needs to be a moment of rest too. Needs to be a moment of Sabbath. That's why Sabbath is a thing in the Judeo-Christian tradition. And that's why rest is a thing in many spiritual traditions as well. Because you can't just be creating all the time. You have to take some time to not create. You have to see yourself like a seed that is underneath the earth in the wintertime. That there is no growth happening, but you are preparing for growth. You are resting, or like dough. My favorite saying is, "This dough must rest so that it can rise." So those are the sacred moments before the leap, before the transition. But however, there is this interspace of transition too that we are looking at today. And so I ask you, do you ever feel like you're at that moment before a transition or before something in life and you just feel sort of stuck? Like as if you were on a trapeze bar, right? And you're up there swinging back and forth and swinging back and forth. And you know that as a trapeze artist, your job is to let go of the trapeze and to fly, to use the momentum of movement to soar through the air. But you gotta let go. You could just stay there swinging on the bar until eventually it comes to a rest and stops. And you could hang there. And that would almost be like stopping breathing in a way. Or you could look out as you're swinging in the darkness at the glimmer of the next bar and use that as your guide. And so part of this spiritual practice or process is to see that glimmer on the next bar and to practice feeling what it feels like to use your momentum to let go and to go on to the next bar. However, metaphors are metaphors, as I've said before, and stories are stories, and life is much more complicated than that. And so I know that I have had moments in my life. I can think of a very specific one when I felt really, really stuck.
Progress.
I'm pretty sure my trapeze bar was no longer swinging. In fact, it was like rusted or frozen, and I was just hanging there dangling, and maybe even my fingers were frozen to the bar. I'm talking about a moment in life when I didn't know where I was going next. I didn't know who I was, really, even. I was doing something which I had trained to do in my life, a job. And I was supposed to have been happy doing that thing, but I just felt like I was not fulfilled. I felt like I was not meeting my purpose. I felt like I was just had been up there swinging back and forth and had no vision about where I was going. And so maybe you found yourself in your life at a place like that before too. And it was a really hard time. It was like I was really, I didn't know why I was even here. And so I remember seeing a therapist at the time to try to work through those ideas and those thoughts about that something being missing from life thing. And I was encouraged to do some journaling, which I hate. But I did do some meditation. And the image that kept coming up for me was an ice floe. I felt like I was on an ice floe stuck in the middle of a frozen lake. And it wasn't going anywhere. Or it was maybe really slowly. And there was like blizzard conditions all around me and I couldn't see anything. But in the distance, eventually, there was this city. Or like something. Trees maybe, or buildings, or people, I'm not sure what. And that gave me something to focus my eye on, or my energy or my thoughts on, to kind of develop a vision for what was there on that distant shore. Was it a mirage? Was it delusion? Or was it something to reach for? But most importantly, I actually resisted the urge to move the ice floe along to that shore. And it was actually realizing the importance of that time being stuck and feeling stuck. That was what was most transformative. So this is not just a story of like, my life sucked, I didn't know what I was doing, and then I had a revelation, and I got to this apex of achievement and development and self-actualization and all that stuff. This is not that story. This is the story of recognizing the sacredness of being in the in-between space. So I found some language actually to describe what that time was, and it's called a liminal space. How many of you have heard that term before? Okay, so comes from Latin. No, it's not bad. It has a little bit of apple juice in it. I think we need our pipes checked. Limen comes from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. So like the space in between two doors when you're going from one place into another. And actually, so it's there are a lot of reasons why there's a term for it, but one is because human beings really hate liminal spaces, generally speaking. They're very uncomfortable, and they're spooky, and they're eerie, and they're kind of like, if you ever actually have some time, go on the internet and type in weirdcore, and liminal spaces, and you'll get all sorts of really interesting images of like empty airport terminals and train stations and gas stations in the middle of the night with no cars, or church, like a church with empty pews, or something like that. But the images are meant to be disturbing because it's meant to be like a place that should have life but doesn't. And so they look sort of familiar, but they're not quite the way they're meant to be. It's the same reason why I think like people find like dolls and clown masks creepy too, because they're like familiar, but they're not quite expressive as they could be. But that's an aside. The point is that we don't like these things, generally speaking. They're sort of like the stuff of our nightmares, literally. If you've ever had a dream about being on a train platform in the middle of the night and missing your last train and nobody else is around, or a dream about being in school in the hallway at night when nobody else is there, and usually you're like naked or something like that, and you also forgot to study for the test that's happening. But it's this feeling of being alone and lost, and those are the negative aspects of this place. And maybe there are ways that we feel like that in our world right now, or maybe this congregation feels that way because it's in a space of transition. Or maybe you have something going on in your life where you feel that way. They're actually, interestingly, these are a lot of reasons why people show up in spiritual community when you're experiencing one of those life transitions. So maybe you've moved, and you've gone from one familiar place to the next, and you're not sure who you are in this new place yet. Or maybe you've just experienced a death of a loved one, and you don't know who you are without them, or divorce. Liminal spaces can also be something like the first day of a new job, of making the transition to being a high school senior to a college freshman, or university freshman, retiring, maybe after getting a life-changing diagnosis, or finding out that you're pregnant. These are all times when you might be called upon to create a new version of yourself, when you have either taken a leap or about to take a leap of some kind. And it can feel, we can feel a bit stuck in those times. But whether or not we enter into those spaces because we've chosen to for some reason, or whether we were actually like pushed off the trapeze bar, maybe there was somebody behind us who made us take the leap. They can be really disorienting. But what I discovered is that this is the space of transformation, the space of growth. You could even say enlightenment. It is the space that calls us on to what we must become. I said before that I entered a liminal space because I was thinking deeply about my life. Nobody pushed me into it. I just realized that something didn't feel right, that I needed to stop just kind of going back and forth. And I entered into this creative, generative phase. I think I'm actually still, I don't know, I might still be in the liminal space. I haven't decided that or not. I haven't decided if I'm still in it or if life in general is just one giant liminal space in between two different ways of existing. That also could totally be the case. I like that one too. Another way to look at it is if you're a person who likes to use the language of the divine to think about the world, or even just divine creation, it could be said that the most divine thing there is, that would be the G word, God for some of you, if you want to think of it that way. The most divine thing there is that force that pushes you from across the gap from where you are, your ideals or your vision, your dreams are over here. And there's this void in between. And it's the thing that pushes us across that space. Mysterious and unknown and terrifying, something that cannot be seen and feels incredibly like an incredibly greater force than ourselves. So, but what the what the point of this story is that when I realized that this space in between the 2 points was not a darkness of the tomb, but a darkness of the womb. When I realized that the frozenness that I was experiencing was like the frozenness of a seed that has been underground all winter. You can't see anything happening, but you know that the seed is swelling, it's filling up with water, and the hard shell on the outside is cracking open, which is precisely the thing that allows growth to occur. When I realized that the frozenness was the frozenness of the ground in winter, not the frozenness of pure ice. Like ice out in space somewhere, devoid of life. Or actually, maybe not. We know that sometimes ice out in space has life too. The point being that life and growth and courage and change are always happening, even when we can't see it. And that's the essence of life. So whether we are jumped or pushed, the lesson of what it means to lead a life in a liminal space is to lead a revolutionary life. And what I mean by that, and why I chose the song For the Earth Forever Turning, is the definition of a revolutionary life as in knowing that you are always going around. That's a revolution, a turning from one to the next. And although the universe is finite and something will happen to it at some point, and it will not exist as we know it, that sort of revolution or turning or the force of the planets and stars is something we are all part of. And as far as our tiny little blips of a life are concerned, it's infinite, or at least a really long thing. So I ask us to come away today thinking about how life is really just a series of turnings, of liminal turnings or revolutions or leaps. To know that it's our job, no, that's a terrible word, I hate that. It is our It is my hope that something that we can cultivate together as people, as a community, is seeing ourselves in that turning, of turning towards. Whether that is turning towards pain, the fear of the unknown, turning towards uncertainty, turning towards challenges that call us on, turning towards growth, turning towards understanding that leads to justice, or simply just a turning towards life. That is what I hope we can embrace. this life, this consciousness is too short to not consciously engage with that process. To not just let yourself be swinging back and forth until your bar comes to rest. You might only get one chance in this iteration to make the leap. May the space between be beautiful. It's our commitment. It just came to me. It's our commitment to engage with that process. I hope. Will you join in singing number 1028 in the teal hymnals? The Fire of Commitment.
From the light of days remember, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirit into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. from the
Stories of our living, winds of song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
from the
Dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment just close up, our announcement today is that for anyone who would like to learn about, it says, learn about Inuit culture on Thursday, November 10th from 1 to 2 p.m. at the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. It's in the temporary location at 2021 Brunswick Street. Their UU member Brian Gifford, hopes to be there. So you're welcome to join him and others. And we're still looking for people to help with Sunday mornings and also for our Saturday brunch, which is our community meal on Saturdays. And
And it's time now for us to take the offering for today. This offering will be for the benefit of our church. Some days we designate it for other groups or other charities, but today it will be for us. And please know that we recognize that people give in many different ways, not always financially, but sometimes of time. And you may not see a lot of money going on the plate because most of our members give monthly automatically through the bank. Thank you.
as we prepare to leave this intentional space of turning our attention towards what matters in life, we sing our closing song, the closing part on the slips of paper that you have. You have the lyrics here together. If you need to share with someone, find someone who has it. You may rise as you wish.
And you're all getting very good at it, so let's sing this loud and proud. We are here, here together. We have spent time together in this holy moment, and we're grateful than the winding road.
Okay, let's try that again.
We have spent time together.
Let's try that again.
And these holy moments.
We didn't do the beginning part
Give us
today.
strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's
got
try it again.
confused.
Let's try it again. We have spent time together.
Rewind. There we go. We
have
have
spent time together, and these